Over on Tumblr for the last couple of years, we have occasionally created outfit moodboard posts inspired by perfumes, embracing the fun of finding inspiration in everything. Recently, as some of you may have seen, this utilisation of perfumes associated with fashion is the culminating chapter within our Fashion Fusion videos here on our channel. We have lovingly always weaved in a section of curated perfume choices to be a lasting touch to the overall fusion of a style we discuss, as perfumes have always been a love of ours. Today, we will further explore this concept more meticulously for the perfume to not just be the last touch, but rather the overall focal point of why the outfit came to be in the first place. Diving into the ways we can pick the materials, style, and accessories for an outfit via the fragrance notes, vivid imagery that is conjured up thanks to the beautifully written descriptions, and of course, the bottle itself. The creation of a perfume relies on the familiar concept called the olfactory pyramid. Top notes are the lightest and evaporate the quickest, luring us into the first impression. Heart notes are likened to the soul or personality, lasting for a while during the life of a perfume. Lastly, base notes are the foundation that stays when all else is swept away. The formulation of this chapter was born from looking at those perfumes that are rich in their arrangement of alluring ingredients that one can gather inspiration from. Using the olfactory pyramid, you can liken the three sections to the stages of building an outfit. Base notes and heart notes intermingle to reveal the full body of the fragrance. Both can be used to represent the style foundation, helping you to envision the type of clothing pieces, while the top notes can be mainly for the jewellery or any other smaller accessories. The first perfume we want to bring under the microscope for this chapter is Eau de Rose by Tadashi Shoji. The top notes consist of a gorgeous exotic blend of bergamot, lemon, mandarin, grapefruit, rhubarb and blackcurrant. The heart notes are comprised of rose, jasmine, osmanthus, lily of the valley and cedarwood. Last but not least, the base notes feature musk, frankincense, patchouli, rose absolute, labdanum, and oud. The perfume itself is identified as a feminine amber floral. A prevailing feature of the heart notes are the presence of small white flowers, the jasmine, osmanthus, and lily of the valley, an elegant delicacy to each. Due to the shape of a lily of the valley flower, you can get inspired by tops with bell-shaped sleeves or flared drapery, while paying homage to the colour of all three with neutrals or whites and the materials of either lace or silk. The note of rose offers a sense of romance to the look. The layered petals forming a spiral can be emulated through the cascading fabric in skirts with ruching or slight ruffles. The dispositions of the remaining base notes are very rooted in the earth, with smokiness, woody, animalic, and musk accords. These ingredients lay out a perfect imagery that all interlocks with each other, a sensuous autumnal palette of amber hues like getting inspired by autumnal leaves, or a colour between brown and black like richly wet soil. Boswellia trees are often what the frankincense is pulled from. A deciduous tree shedding its leaves in autumn and growing anew in spring can afford you 2 seasons to step into for different clothing choices. Taking the note of labdanum, often described as leathery, can help to choose shoes of faux leather. Lastly, the rose absolute to us exudes antiqueness as it is an intensely fragrant oil. This could be symbolised through handbags that are more vintage shaped with floral motifs. Observing the ingredients in the top notes portion brings forth the imagery of fruit juices pressed out and flowing down into a golden chalice of crushed crepuscule. The freshness from all the citrus paired with the tartness of rhubarb and blackcurrant in particular gives the feeling of something that is airy yet with a finishing sultry edge. You could look to gold jewellery that has a literal sharpness to it, pieces with manipulated metal that protrude out in some way to form fang-like structures. Jewellery like this not only adheres to that feeling of bittersweet/bitterness that the rhubarb and blackcurrant imparts, but also honours the fresh taste profile of all the top notes, which we often relate to being more modernistic via the trend of irregular metal. You could also find jewellery that incorporates brighter gem-like components or colours to highlight the physical appearance of these notes. The second witness we want to bring in is Dandelion Extract de Perfume by Phantom, with the notes consisting of creamy chai tea swirled in a milky vanilla, obscuring mists, carnations, dandelions, sandalwood, ginger, a plaster mask, and a melted beeswax candle. Due to the website expressing the notes in paragraph form rather than the olfactory pyramid structure, we will be using this as our guide. They state that the perfume opens with the sweet and warm chai tea and the humid mist slowly rolls in, which suggests that these are the top notes as it's the first impression. The visual of mist enveloping the tea conjures a feeling of something that is comforting but not cloying, with wisps of mystery. You could look to jewelry that is not excessively rich in detail, rather sentimental pieces like lockets or cameo pendants on a single chain that remain in a neutral colour palette, and all in the style of the Victorian or Gothic era to adhere to the emotion mist conveys. The next ingredients are the heart and base notes, which we can now use to form the silhouette. The two flowers in this fragrance bouquet are the carnation with its ruffled and fluffy texture, and the dandelion with its thinner and more dense petal placement. To mimic the carnation, you could look to pieces with ruffled collars, sleeves or hemlines, layered tiered skirts or dresses with gathered volume almost cloud-like, and fabrics in chiffon, tulle or silk that hold ruffles beautifully. For the dandelion, you could look to items that are thin but tighter in texture, like fine knitwear for one example, pleating, spherical shaped items, fringe or tassel trims, and overlaying two different fabrics for density would be more features too. Because of carnations in particular coming in various colours, we can form a sense of cohesion by looking to the notes of sandalwood and ginger for the colour palette, as it would tie into the top notes more seamlessly. Though due to ginger being described as a mildly spicy flavour, the carnation is not necessarily lost. Something like a deep pink/dark cherry coloured belt or handbag for some vibrancy could be added. Lastly, the plaster mask and melted beeswax candle can be used for inspiration in shoes, as it is the foundation. Shoes that are more textural and resembling an art piece would be the key point. Tarnished/distressed antique boots or cracked paint reminiscent of Maison Margiela would achieve this. Perfumery creates a narrative. This storytelling element lives in fashion and is suffused in the creation of personal style. Hence, looking at the poetic description of a perfume can be incredibly helpful. Our first chosen participant for this demonstration is Jardin d'Armide by Oriza Legrand. The perfume was specifically inspired by the mythical tale of Armida by Renaissance poet Torquato Tasso, a sorceress who conjured up an enchanted garden to hold a knight hostage. Armida was actually sent to kill this hostage named Ronaldo, but instead she fell in love. A woman of captivating beauty who knows all the ways of giving and sharing tenderness, but also embodies the double-edged sword that love can often entail. The Queen of Flowers, otherwise known simply as the Rose, is at the helm of this bewitching perfume, duetting with orange blossom and iris powder. Picked from Armida's garden of creation, the rose is also joined by Florentine iris, wild violets, wisteria and marigold, all of which encircle the way into this bouquet that has the concluding dry down of musk, honey, almond and tonka bean. An outfit inspired by this perfume evokes the lush enchantment of a mythical garden and the seductive power of a sorceress. Flowing fabrics like silk, lace or chiffon in deep forest greens and soft floral tones would mirror the garden's opulence, while delicate gold accents and embroidery summon its blooms. Corsets would give a nod to the 17th century elegance, blending structure with allure, and a sheer cape or a long veil attachment would add an otherworldly touch. Lastly, you could adorn your body with jeweled necklaces, stone rings, and golden leaf accoutrements. Alternatively, you can look to the various art interpretations of what our protagonist looks like. Often she is depicted with flowers close to her heart,
adorned in pearlescent finery and clothing that drapes loosely off the body, fitted with a corset. Observing these paintings can influence the clothing to lean towards Grecian style meets Renaissance, to give a nod to the era of the poet Tasso.
The second perfume we would like to showcase for this section is Temple Moss Eau de Parfum by Oken. The scented imagery is as follows. Smoke drifts lazily through the open air, winding its way between temple walls, where time settles on stone and moss softens every edge. A quiet offering rests at the foot of a shrine, Chanang Sari, delicate and fragrant, its petals gently curling in the afternoon heat. The scent of tree moss clings to the humid stillness, grounding each moment in something both sacred and familiar. Shadows stretch across the path as incense burns low, leaving only a trace, a memory held in air and earth. Though for this chapter we are solely taking inspiration from the description, the notes are worth mentioning to marvel in their beauty, which include fresh green leaves, dewy stone accord, hyacinth, soft patchouli, wild violet, creamy woods, sacred incense, tree moss, dry cedarwood, and mineral musk. Extracting the core visuals and emotional themes from the text would create an outfit ultimately inspired by the quiet sacredness of a temple enveloped in nature's offerings, the juxtaposition of something grounded yet ethereal. Overall, in terms of materials, you could draw on earthy tones for the colour palette and textures like linen, silk, cotton, soft wool, or suede. The silhouette of the pieces can adhere to a balance between draped shapes and structure, plus layering to echo ritual garments. One specific manifestation of this could be the following: a soft moss green top in light fabric flowing like incense in still air, paired with wide leg trousers that anchor the look, mirroring temple walls worn smooth by time. Adding a shawl draped over the shoulders like a robe, catching the light with its subtle shimmer, freezing it in a time of afternoon warmth. Accessories would be kept organic like wood jewellery, floral hairpins, smoky stones, sandals for shoes, and small purse pouches or woven bags. This chapter exploration will be firstly through the perfume Talento Estate de Perfume by Mende Torosa, specifically surveying the bottle for an inspiration guide, but we will quickly read the fragrance notes as they are really lovely. Aldehydes, mint, rose, geranium, oak moss, Virginia cedar, and Indonesian patchouli leaf. The perfume itself gives you an indestructible decadence of sophistication, yet also fragility due to the clear glass bottle. The solid raku ceramic cap holds the presence of a mesmerizing abstract rose, while a soft tassel idly hangs, giving credence to this aforementioned deduction of contrasting materials. A colour palette of ethereal neutrals plus lunar greys and textures that are more worn out or marble will help to envision the perfume at its full. The detail of adornments attached to the bottle can appear in the form of talismanic jewellery that is emblematic of armour, but also has some flexibility to it, mimicking the irregularity of tree branches. A key characteristic of abstract art is the freedom of form and strong shapes. Grabbing tops in flowing fabrics paired with structured pants that have very striking oversized belt buckles could be an example. The second piece of evidence for this last investigation is the perfume Mortal Skin by Stephanie Humbert Lucas 777. And like before, we must mention the notes as they are quite interesting. Artemisia, ink, blackberry, incense, labdanum, myrrh, opopanax, iris, cardamom, styrax, ambergris, atlas cedar, birch, sandalwood, and musk.
The bottle has a mystical quality to it, like an artifact residing on a shelf in an alchemist's home from a more modern time. It's cloaked in glossy obsidian glass. This darkness doesn't feel empty, rather it feels alive due to the detail of the golden snake skin, imbuing the heaviness of the rectangular form with luxury. The snake texture also glides its way up to the cylindrical cap, adding weight like a crown atop this perfume. Though the colour palette for the outfits would remain more simplistic with blacks and neutral-toned gold, it would be overflowing in textural elements and sleek silhouettes, which would include incorporating lace or patterned hosiery, snakeskin fabrics, heavy leathers, halter neck tops to mimic the cap that reaches a peak, black shiny silk, long trench coats for the rectangular bottle, sharp cutouts in pieces to perhaps give a nod to the dangers of a venomous snake, and jewellery that is luxurious like black pearls. We do very much believe that fashion has no rules, an outlet for individual creativity to be unrestrained. There are many ways to interpret things, so we hope this video can act as a stepping stone for your own ways of seeing inspiration in the world.